He's 6'5", lightning fast, and just torched Clemson's defense in Death Valley. Tristan Smith didn't just look ready, he looked like wide receiver number one. We'll talk about it right here on Locked On Clemson.
You are Locked On Clemson, your daily podcast on the Clemson Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Tiger fans? Morgan Thomas here, Clemson fan, Clemson grad, host and producer of Locked On Clemson, and part-time host and producer over at 105.5 and 97.5 FM, The Roar. Thank you so much for making Locked On Clemson your first listen every day. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And if you're new to the show, make sure you hit that like and subscribe and notification bell so you never miss an episode. And in between episodes, you can also follow me over on X at The Morgan T Show. If you like the video, as I say, because you know how the algorithms work. Hey, today's episode is brought to you by TurboTax. Ready for stress-free taxes and the most money back guaranteed? Head over to turbotax.com today and get matched with your expert. I'm not trying to overcomplicate this at all, but Tristan Smith was by far the best player on the field Saturday, period. There was no one else. Tristan Smith, number 80. First of all, it's really nice to have a number 80 back on the field and one that's really tall, outside wide receiver that's doing things that we haven't seen in quite some time. So I know you were excited about it. If you went to the game, I know you were excited to watch it. We talked about him being somebody who could come in and wasn't just your typical transfer who was one of those guys that was going to hold a clipboard. This is a guy from Southeast Missouri State who came into spring practice, wasn't very well known, but outside of Clemson area, I mean, Clemson people knew him because he was really the first transfer that you could kind of say was like the transfer that Dabo Swinney did. Now, Dabo has taken transfers, but this one just felt a little bit different at first, right? And now it more than feels different. It looks different. He had solid numbers in FCS, but few expected him to be kind of an immediate impact guy. And now when the spring game happened, it's really impossible to ignore what he can bring to the table. This wasn't just some hyped up guy from the transfer portal, and he definitely wasn't a 5-star recruit that we've been talking about for years, but he's a guy under the radar, bided his time, and then just dropped an absolute monster game in Death Valley this Saturday. And it was a spring game, I get it, but this is something that it feels like was exactly what Clemson needed, that true outside wide receiver, big-bodied presence that can go up there and win balls and make big plays, take the top off of defenses. You haven't seen it in so long. Clemson's wide receiver room just went from promising a group of guys that we knew were really good to, I think, nationally recognized elite. And we mentioned this, we hyped this up, we speculated that Clemson was back to wide receiver U, and it really, truly feels like that they are back to wide receiver U now. With Tristan Smith added to the mix, I'm calling it now. He's not going to be a contributor. There's no way. He's going to be a game changer. He could steal wide receiver 1 by September, and we are all going to love it and enjoy it and just be along for the ride. He dominated not just in the spring game, but in real matchups. He caught 5 passes for 137 yards, a 72-yard touchdown that was like literally over 2 guys, competing and beating coverage, in tight coverage, in double coverage, showing his ability to win in traffic, turn, and go down the field. These weren't just wide open reps. Now, believe me, I can't wait to see them because I think they are going to happen. I do believe that wide open receptions are going to happen, but he won reps against cornerbacks that are definitely there competing for their own time on the Clemson defensive side of the ball, and not just pushovers and not just scrubs, not just, reserve practice team guys. Go watch some of the video that you see over on social media with some of the people that were there that actually posted some of the video. The touchdown was amazing. Footwork was really good right there on the sideline. Separation and his ability to turn on the jets and go and really kind of keep himself balanced. To me, NFL caliber. The dude's not just tall. He's not just a big body out there that can't do anything with it. He's crafty. He's talented. And he can make big plays when you need it. One thing that we really didn't see that I know that I feel like we are going to see, though, is that he is built for the red zone. 6'5", long arms, strong hands. He gives something that Clemson hasn't had in a long time. I would say since T. Higgins, really, a true red zone mismatch. Now, the other guys, and this is really not knocking any of the other guys, because I'm going to spend this episode talking about the other guys as well. But I'm telling you right now that this is a guy that it was not a fluke. Defenses are going to hate 3rd and goal situations. They're going to hate having to be able to cover this guy because of the entire wide receiver group that they have. He's a quarterback's dream. He shrinks the field, and he is a guy that you can trust. And we've seen confidence and trust from the very beginning. Dabo Swinney came out in the post game, and he said, it was all intentional. It was intentional for Tristan Smith to get him dialed up early, to build his confidence. And mission accomplished. It worked. After that first big catch, it seemed like the switch was turned on and he was unstoppable for the rest of the day, which I do love the format. It seemed like it went by really fast. It wasn't a very long spring game, but you could see that there were things that worked well together. You got to see actual potential of what you're going to see probably in the fall, and not just a mismatch hodgepodge of players that really don't work well together. You got to see what they can do. You could see Cade Klubnik locking eyes with him, and you could see them targeting him pre-snap. You could see the backup quarterbacks as well on the same page with him. There's obviously a connection brewing there. There's obviously plays that are designed for him. And to me, this kind of development that we're seeing early on in the spring is only going to pay dividends in the fall for sure. If he can stay healthy and be ready for that first game against LSU, I think it's going to be a huge game for him. I think this is the catalyst for him to go forward. Now, you could say, well, Morgan, it is just the spring game. But go back and watch those videos that I was telling you about on social media, and eventually they'll come out on Clemson Plus. But his performance wasn't just about allowing big plays. I had mentioned last week, I just like to see some big plays and maybe the defense call a bad coverage. I don't think any of this was because of bad coverage, bad scheme, or purposeful soft coverage. It was about technique. It was about body control. It was about ball timing. These skills are going to translate immediately in the fall. Spring games, I know they definitely can be fluky. That's for sure. But to me, this wasn't a one-hit wonder. This wasn't a springtime wonder. And I will say, I overhyped a lot of the guys last spring for sure. I'm going to tell you that. But I don't believe that's the case with Tristan Smith. This was consistency. This was a culmination of this young man's career, that he has finally worked his way up to the big leagues, and he is showing what he can do. Doubters of Tristan Smith need to sit down, because to me, this was a real deal. If there are any doubters for Tristan Smith, I don't think there may be, but if there are, you better not doubt him, because you won't for long. That's for sure. And to me, the connection is that this changes everything. It's not just like a little thing that happened. With Tristan Smith out there now, you're not going to be able to just bracket Wesco or Williams or more. You're not going to be. I felt like last season they did have weapons, but those weapons got bracketed pretty easily over time. I think with him added into the mix, and because he gives you that true one-on-one outside presence, that true jump ball presence that we haven't had in so long, you got Wesco that can take the top off. We saw that. Wesco that can find ways to get open. You got TJ Moore that can fight and run great routes. You got Antonio Williams that can be your third down guy. And now you have Tristan Smith that can be that jump ball guy that also can break away on the outside. To me, Cade Klubnik suddenly goes from 3 guys to 4 and 5 legit options every single down. And we're not even talking about the tight ends yet. And for Garrett Riley and his offense to be able to do that, they're going to be able to thrive in space and matchups, and it's going to be dangerous. To me, this is not a fluke. This is not just spring game. This is Clemson showing, hey, we're putting you on notice now. We do have wide receiver you again, and LSU, we're coming for you. You better game plan. Even if you do game plan, we're gonna beat you no matter what. I think I'm loving what I'm seeing right now. They might not need to really show us anymore. And I don't need to see any more film. I've already seen enough because Clemson's passing attack looks the best it's looked to me overall, top to bottom. And we'll talk about the rest of the guys because I know I've drooled enough over Tristan Smith, but how can you not? He wasn't just brought in to fill in gaps. He wasn't just brought in to be a transfer portal guy to check off a box. He was brought in to be a difference maker, and we're seeing that immediately in Death Valley in the spring game. He was heavily involved. I believe we'll continue with this. I'm not going to shock anybody by saying this guy has potential now. You can put him on your list of Clemson possible 1,000-yard receivers. I mean, how could he not be on the list for you? Now, I know Clemson has a lot of guys that could be up there, but he's up there as not a maybe, but I would say a candidate, a potential candidate for sure for 2025 to have a huge season. All right, coming up next, I'm going to talk about two other guys that I think we should also be excited about, Cole Turner and Tyler Brown. This is a message from sponsor Intuit TurboTax. Taxes was waiting and wondering and worrying if you were going to get any money back. And then waiting and wondering and worrying some more. Now Taxes is matching with a TurboTax expert who can do your taxes in as soon as today. An expert who can give you your taxes undivided attention as long as they work on your return while you get real-time updates on your progress so you can focus on your day. An expert who will find every deduction possible and file every form, every investment, everything you need with 100% accuracy. All so you can get the most money back guaranteed. No waiting, no wondering, no worries. Now this is Taxes. Get an expert now over at TurboTax.com. Only available with TurboTax Live full service. Real-time updates only in iOS mobile app. See guarantee details at TurboTax.com/guarantees. All right. So while everyone else was, including myself, drooling over Tristan Smith, I think Cole Turner and Tyler Brown had a pretty good Saturday as well for themselves. Now, we know these two guys can add to the mix of the guys that are out there. Both players have had flashes in their careers with Clemson. Turner's got, speed. He can get downfield. He can find gaps even when, guys have covered him one-on-one pretty tight. He somehow finds ways to make some ridiculous diving grab. And, so he brings a lot to the table, and his speed is undeniable for sure. And Tyler Brown with his type of route running and that kind of mid-route burst that we love and we miss about him because he was injured last season. I think him coming back and being healthy now is going to be huge for Clemson, and the emergence of these guys and guys like Tristan Smith that we mentioned, and some of the new guys that are coming in, they're going to be fighting for time. So the roles aren't guaranteed. The spots aren't guaranteed. The starting lineup's not guaranteed. But to me, they still are showing that they're grinding, they're putting in the work, and they are demanding a look at, to be in the rotation for the wide receiver room. These two, they held their own. They proved that they belong in the rotation. And to me, that just further adds to the lore of Clemson wide receiver U and the arsenal that Clemson has. Quietly lethal. Now, loud guys, probably loud's going to be Tristan Smith, Bryant Wesco, TJ Moore, right? Maybe even Antonio Williams in the mix as well. Those guys are going to be your loud guys. So your quiet guys, the guys that are going to really sneak up on defenses and on the national media, is going to be Tyler Brown and Cole Turner. I mean, to me, you add those guys into the mix, this just makes this group even more lethal. And if you're Cade Klubnik, how would you not love to have what you have right now? I mean, this is the best wide receiver group that he's ever had as a quarterback, and probably that anybody's had since back when Trevor Lawrence was on the field. So Turner and Brown are critical in moments that Clemson needs to convert. I think that, they add just a little bit something different. So if somebody needs a breather, they can come in and be a bigger role when they need to. I'm telling you that they are fan favorites already. They're not just role players. I do think that they're contributors. They are hurting for time because, there is that group of guys. You can only play so many at once, but I'm telling you, it's still, is something that these guys can contribute. So they're not new to us for sure, but they're quick. They can get separation. They get clean breaks. They always seem to be open when they need to be. And, it really is going to frustrate defenders as we get into the fall. You got these veteran guys that add in with the younger guys, and your newer guys, the transfer portal guys. And to me, the chemistry is already there. You really don't need any more. You really don't need to doubt the chemistry between Cole Turner and Cade Klubnik. And I don't doubt the chemistry between Tyler Brown and Cade Klubnik. So I think that they've been working together for a while now, and chemistry matters when you get into crunch time. When it gets into a stressful situation, when the clock's running out, maybe he doesn't have as much with some of the newer guys or some of the transfers, but he will have that with Tyler Brown and Cole Turner, and you'll be able to see it. The timing, really, what really is great to me is that the timing is there already. In the spring, Cade is just settled in. The timing's there with TJ Moore and Bryant Wesco. The timing's there with Tristan Smith. The timing is there with Turner and Brown as well. So it just seems like this offense knows where everybody's going to be. They're gelled, and they're just building. I think that the defenses are going to be, having to key on some of those taller guys to the outside, and it's going to really make Cole Turner and Tyler Brown kind of pop. I don't see a safety or a third cornerback or a nickelback or even a linebacker. If they do that, I don't see them having very much success against these two guys. They're going to be mismatch nightmares. Garrett Riley's going to be able to exploit it. People, national media may not be talking about these two guys, but it really, the team as a whole is going to help them come together and I think make a push into the postseason. They add that big time depth that's trustworthy too. How many guys can you name off this list that you feel like not only does Cade Klubnik trust, but Dabo Swinney trust and Garrett Riley trust? When it comes to wide receivers, this is the most that I can remember for a long time, maybe even more than some of those, national championship teams, because sometimes those teams were even stacked at the top. But you get these kind of guys out there, and it's not just going to help you survive. It's going to help you thrive. They're going to be able to really stress out that ACC schedule. They're going to stress out the SEC out of conference opponents that they're going to play, and they're going to be able to use these guys to push. And if they stay healthy for the entire season, I think the biggest struggle is just how will you rotate these guys in and out? How will you get them enough snaps to be able to feel like that they're contributing to the team? And that's kind of a tough part about today's college football, is that, if you don't get your fair share, then you're gone. I don't get the vibe that these guys are that way. I think that they're all team players. I think they're Clemson first, team first. They want to win for sure, and they want to do well with their name on the back of the jersey. But I don't feel like that they're going to sacrifice that for selfish reasons either. Now, if they don't get any snaps at all, or they get kind of pushed to the bench and you never really see them and the rotation just can't be there, then I can understand it further on, later on in the season. But I don't think that's going to be the case with these guys. Maybe they're not going to get wide receiver 1 or 2 type of reps or type of targets, but they're definitely going to get enough targets to be able to be lethal. And they bring enough to the table to kind of really stress out defenses and keep them on their toes. Clemson's now got, a 6-7 man rotation at wide receiver that we're seeing. And it's going to be really frustrating for any secondary out there. I don't know of many secondaries that are going to be able to compete at this level. And that's a great thing, because I think Clemson is back to being an elite offense because of who they have on their roster. Garrett Riley's got to be grinning from ear to ear, drawing up plays right now, because if he doesn't have Smith, Wesco, Moore, Williams, then he can go to Brown and Turner as well, on anybody else on the tight end position and his running backs. So I wouldn't be surprised if these guys, maybe they don't lead the team in catches, but I think Brown and Turner can lead the team in like big third down play ability, and that to me brings a lot to the team and allows them to get to the postseason yet again. One of these guys, mark my words right now, they may not get the most yards, may not get the most catches, but one of these guys, Turner or Brown, they're going to get a game-winning catch, or it's going to be such a critical conversion that you're going to remember it for this season in 2025. I'm predicting it now. Go ahead and write it down. Game winner or a memorable conversion that's just like, wow. I think these guys bring that much to the table, and I can't wait to see them in the fall. All right, coming up next, we're going to finish out with those guys that I said that, those other guys weren't. And those were the guys that we know are kind of the first string guys, those big time stars that were in green for the spring game. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. And that's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. I love managing money with Monarch Money because you can do it with your partner. It is smoother than ever. You can track shared expenses, personal accounts, set goals, stay on the same page, relieves that stress in your marriage or your relationship. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. They wore green, no contact jerseys, but let's not act like they're not going to dominate even without those, right? So Wesco, Moore, Antonio Williams still look like the best trio in the ACC, and I think they could make a name for themselves again in 2025. The green jerseys limited their contact, so they couldn't get tackled, but their visibility was still there. They were still able to make plays, and these are your projected top three. I think even with Tristan Smith in the mix, I think that, they got limited action, but we know that they're going to come out and be the top three because they were the top three in 2024. So Antonio Williams, Bryant Wesco, TJ Moore, they combined for 2,263 yards last season. And I think that they'll be able to get that and more in 2025. We know that they're elite, and they didn't really need to go full throttle in the spring game to make their presence felt. We knew that they would be some of the best players in the country and in the ACC. And I didn't really need to see much more of them. I wanted to see Tristan Smith more than I wanted to see these guys. But what they did do was still impactful and still made you excited for 2025 because the trio of these guys are going to be super dynamic. This rotation is going to really stress out a lot of defenses. We already talked about how, the other guys add into the mix, and it's really going to be a huge rotation of guys that are just going to be wave after wave attacking you. The Georgias, the Ohio States, the LSUs, the South Carolinas, the Florida States, whoever it may be, Clemson is going to come after you, and they're not going to let up. You've still got Bryant Wesco out there. He's got an amazing burst. I love his first step. Even without contact in the spring, you could see they were struggling to keep up. He's very twitchy off the snap. He's a nightmare. He's an absolute nightmare for defenses. TJ Moore, still great body control. Really savvy football player, polished route runner, probably one of the best route runners in the country. He knows how to find soft zones. He knows how to sell his double moves. He's got that rare just combo of size and just athleticism, and just adds to my fact that 2025 is wide receiver U again for Clemson. I mean, tell me that I'm wrong. Find a way to tell me that I'm wrong. And then you have Antonio Williams, who I really haven't talked about much all offseason. I even had people in the comments over on YouTube telling me, Morgan, you never talk about Antonio Williams. You talk about everybody else, but you're missing Antonio Williams. I'm not missing him. I'm just saying that Clemson has so many other guys to really talk about in the spring, and we already kind of know what we're getting with Antonio Williams, which is a blessing, a huge blessing. You got a guy that's smooth. He's consistent. He's your Mr. Third Down. He's your reliable. And I think that if Cade can remember that, right? If Cade can remember, he needs a Mr. Third Down, just like Deshaun Watson had Mr. Third Down, right? Just like Trevor Lawrence had Mr. Third Down. If you have those guys that you can trust in critical situations, like the Antonio Williams and the TJ Moores of the world, that just opens up even more, keeps the ball moving, and then you rotate in those other guys that are going to absolutely destroy defenses. Now, I know you could say that we really didn't see much of these guys. They had green jerseys, but really there's no point to that because they didn't need to come out there and take tackles. We know who they are. We know their athletic ability. We know that they are elite wide receivers. This was I think it was a great move for Clemson. I think it was a really calculated move to allow the other guys to kind of shine a little bit more. And it worked really well for the Tigers. The whole format, I've been on social media. People have texted me who were at the game, and it seems like I listen to people on the radio. It seems like everybody loved the new format because it went faster. I know it was still pretty hot. The sun was blazing for sure, but it went faster. You got to see the ones versus ones, and you got to see the guys that you wanted to see. And they were paired up with guys that you expect to be paired up with in the fall. So it really, truly gave you a look into the future. And that's what you want from the spring game, not what we've had in the past. So I give a 10 out of 10, would recommend for the format. I give a 10 out of 10, would recommend for the Clemson wide receiver group because this is what this episode's all about. But I mean, why not? I mean, I'd probably make 5 episodes about the Clemson wide receiver group. They've got this trio of what you would think is their number ones, right? And there's no disrespect to the other guys like Smith, Turner, Brown, no disrespect, but it really, truly is too deep. And they're going to be able to rotate the elite teams that you're going to face in November, you're going to face in December and into the playoffs. This is where, as long as they can stay healthy, they're going to be able to continue to rotate, continue to be explosive in many different ways. Garrett Riley now and Cade Klubnik add to that mix has absolutely no excuse. I mean, those guys have all the weapons they need. They have an offensive line with a great coach that really is only having to replace one guy, and you're replacing him with guys that you know already. This isn't just a good group for wide receivers and offense as a whole. This is a national championship level offense. Cade Klubnik takes the next step and reaches his max potential in college. Garrett Riley finally can call every play that he needs to call because he has all the weapons he can want and more. This offense could be leaning towards and pushing towards 40 points a game. Clemson will be back in the playoff conversation, and they'll be back into getting in the Final Four and back into the national championship conversation as well. The biggest thing for me is now it's all about staying healthy. The passing game won't just get better. As the year goes on, they're going to continue to be elite. If LSU watched anything that what we saw this weekend, they're got to be scared. And I think it just put everybody on notice that, wow, they're back to being that kind of Clemson team that has so many weapons. What can you really do but hope to bend, don't break? It's no more of those, well, we'll just take what the defense gives us. I understand that philosophy, and that works many ways. But now, to me, with what Garrett Riley has now in 2025, it is, hey, we're going to go and we're going to run this play, try and stop us, because you're not going to be able to because we have too many weapons. They have all the weapons they need. They're going to be a great offense that I look forward to seeing. I know I'm not crazy here. I think they're going to have multiple guys that have huge seasons, and I can't wait to see it. We haven't even talked about the offensive line, haven't even talked about running back. I'll get more to that this week. I'm going to continue to break down each of the little segments that I saw in the spring game. I'm going to continue to break it down all this week. So you're going to get spring game till you're blue in the face, maybe I should say till you're orange in the face. You're getting the spring game coverage all this week. So I hope you continue to tune in. Thank you so much for the support here on Locked On Clemson. Hey, thank you so much for making Locked On Clemson your first listen today. For your second listen, you can check out Locked On College or Locked On NFL Draft with Damian Parson and Keith Sanchez. Your favorite collegiate players are ready to go to the NFL and the next level. Get the latest draft rankings, rumors, news every day. Find Locked On NFL Draft on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. And as always, Tiger fans, I'll see you tomorrow where we're going to give you more spring game coverage, and I'll see you at the top of the hill.